So hi guys, my name is Althea and I'm the co-founder and the group CEO of Gushcloud International. We're a digital talent agency group. We have 14 offices based on 11 countries, and our main job is to represent and manage some of the world's largest YouTubers, content creators, influencers. And today we're just super happy to really have, I guess, three of my friends and people that I have learned from and really, gathered together for the last couple of years of our lives. I still remember I grew up with Love Bonito, literally. And of course, I've known Sabrina since, I guess, really at the start of my career since 2012. So that's been like 8 years. And of course, I recently got to know Marcus and know about his incredible journey, building PRISM, which is such a wonderful, I guess, Singapore homegrown brand, as well as with Aftershock and Omnidesk. But I think today is such a pleasure to really just be here with three people and three entrepreneurs as well as C-level folks that are still running their businesses. And I think the idea behind it is that we've managed to really build something that is Singaporean and homegrown and really wanting to push the boundary into like overseas markets. So I want to say that if you're here joining us today, it's great. And I hope that you're taking down notes, because I think that these folks will have a lot of things to be able to share with us. So I think maybe how we will start is we'll start off with introductions. So maybe we'll go down this way. So we'll just do a very quick, introduction, and maybe Dione, you can tell us about your foot as well.
Sure.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah. Hi everyone. I'm Dione. I'm COO of Love, Bonito. So I think brief introduction of LB. We've been around in Singapore officially for 10 years, right? But started from Bonito Chico days. Started by our three founders then, right? Really, because I think we really saw a gap in the market, especially when it came to Asian female wear, right? There was nothing that really fit the Asian woman when it came to the sizing, the cutting, right? Or even seasonality, right? Back 10 years ago, when you think of all the brands that were in Singapore, they were mainly high street brands, right? Or a few international fast fashion players, right? Like Zara or H&M.
That's right.
And that's why we really came into the market. And over the last couple of years, I think our ambitions have really grown bigger as well. And as Althea said as well, I think we've seen that, hey, I think we can do a successful D2C brand, not just in Singapore, but beyond, right? And we see a good fit in the rest of Asia and maybe even beyond Asia, right? To markets like Australia and the US. Yeah. Yes, so then a little bit about myself, right? I've been with LB now for 3.5 years, but started in the whole e-commerce and retail prior to that, with experiences across Zalora, so happen, which we can talk more later, and then Sephora for a bit. Yes, and then funny story. Yeah, so today I have my crutch with me.
That's right.
Yes, broke my foot in a very unfortunate incident at a friend's party while dancing. I guess I'm growing old already. I guess since I'm 32, very weak bones. I guess so. That's how it happened. And then decided I cannot go around with a boring crutch. So decided to go to Daiso, get myself washi tapes, and then did this. Just
very fashionable.
Myself, yes, for the next 4 months.
Yeah, very customized, very fashionable.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus.
Yep. So hi everyone. I'm the founder of Aftershock PC and PRISM Plus. So we've been doing this for about 8 years now. Essentially, we founded this company because we wanted to bring sort of boutique level services to Singapore. We came up with the idea because I was doing an exchange program in Canada at the time, and I experienced how some of the boutique PC companies serve their customers. So it was quite an eye-opener for me. So before we started this company, a bit of a backstory, I was working as a systems administrator in a research company, a school/research company. And after working there for a while, I decided it was time to give my business dream a shot. So that's how Aftershock PC was founded. We started off as a gaming laptop company. From then on, we've gone from strength to strength, very much focused on customer service, the experience. And now we're doing gaming laptops, desktop PCs, all kinds of products. We've sort of branched out from PCs to even tables and whatnot, everything for your so-called work from home setup. So it's been a very interesting 8-year journey for me. Right now, we are not just in Singapore, we've expanded to both Malaysia and Australia. And it's been an eye-opener seeing how much each of the markets differs, how much of a different strategy is required for each market, and just the type of opportunity there are in bigger markets for companies like us.
Cool. Sabrina?
Hi. My name is Sabrina, and I'm the founder and CEO of Skin Inc. Skin Inc is homegrown, gone global skincare. But what we are really out there to do is to reboot beauty with this insanity with a purpose. Is literally fighting head on with a lot of leaders, world leaders in the beauty care category. But what I think the key learning of these 12 years is that no dream is too big for you. And today we are in 7 countries, 70 cities, as well as we 138 beauty awards.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So I think today we've structured the conversation into 4 parts, which is the current state of retail, marketing techniques that we might be able to share a little bit with some of our young people that are watching us, what the future looks like for all of them, and then maybe a last piece of advice that maybe somebody gave you back then in the past and that you might want to impart to the next generation. So let's start off with really the current state of retail right now. So as we all know, especially in the state of COVID, a lot of retail shops have unfortunately shut. A lot of people have gone online. So I think maybe my first question specifically to Dione is that just 2 days ago, Love Bonito just launched one more store at Ion B3. If you're watching this, please go this weekend.
Please visit.
Please visit. I just wanted to know or understand, and I think a lot of people are here to also understand why at a time like this, you're going more into physical retail when a lot of people are going towards online retail. Is there still a space for physical retail?
I think definitely. First question people mostly ask us and they're super shocked, right? And they probably think we're crazy. But I think just to share a bit of context, right? So Love Bonito, we started entirely online first.
That's right.
10 years ago, without zero brick and mortar presence. But then soon realized that, as a D2C brand, really, I guess, building that connection, right, and community with our customers, right, was really very key. At the end of the day, I guess we approach expansion from a very channel agnostic perspective, right? Meaning that if there was wallet share or customers just preferring a certain channel, that's where we might pivot into it and expand into it. So it could be offline retail, right? For now, it could be chat commerce even, right? It could be maybe a certain new app that doesn't even exist today. I think WhatsApp Business, for example, just opened a shopping capability and function as well, right? So I think things will change again in the online space. So for us, I guess that's how we've been always approaching channels, right? Very customer first. If they like it, yes, we go into it, right? So I think to your question, and then in Singapore, we felt that despite e-commerce, I guess, CAGRs being quite high, right? You see a lot of good traction, but the truth of the matter is e-commerce is still a very small penetration of the overall retail pie. And in Singapore, it's even lower than in other markets, right? Actually, in North Asia, in Japan, in Korea, in China, for example, e-commerce penetration is a lot higher. In Singapore, you're looking at much lower numbers, which means that actually there is still room to be going offline. Right? But that said, of course, offline today has a risk, right? We know that with COVID, of course, malls are shut down, and then you need to really mitigate that. So for us, I guess we looked at Ion. Ion, I guess being Ion, has been a key mall, right? I think for us that we felt, oh my goodness, right? I think 3 or 4 years ago, the dream was if we could ever get space in Ion, and I think Sabrina would attest to this, this would be a dream mall to be in, right? Given that it's one of the pinnacle malls in Singapore, we felt there's a very, very good audience fit. So we've always been keeping our eyes on Ion. So then when the opportunity arose as well, we decided, hey, I think we could be opportunistic even through COVID, right? Meaning that the risk, of course, is productivity for the malls not being that high, right? Or here and there, I guess, malls not being to operate if there is a certain resurgence again, right, of COVID-19 here. So to mitigate that means that we would need to negotiate, right? Things like rentals, ensure that our cost structure, especially fixed, would be lowered or variable as well, right? That we relook at it. Since we were able to do that, then we felt, why not, right? I think it was a calculated risk in that sense. Of course, every business decision has a risk, but it's a calculated risk for us, right? That we felt there is still room, but let's cover our downside, right? And then take this opportunity to expand, because in the longer term, right, in 3 to 5 years, when everything gets a little better as well, we still see ourselves there, and we think that it's still a viable space, right? And as long as we are smart about it, ensure that when it comes to omni-channel features and so on, e-commerce, of course, all those bits, I think, are areas that we would still want to grow, right, over time.
So maybe we stay a little bit on this topic a little bit more, which is calculated risk, because I think we have a lot of young entrepreneurs here who like the idea of risk, but calculated risk is something that very few people talk about, and honestly, young entrepreneurs sometimes don't understand what it means to be calculated risk, right? So maybe jumping over a little bit to Sabrina, right? For example, the Skinning brand is a luxurious skincare brand and is distributed across 70 cities. across like even physical retail shops like Sephora and all that. So I want to ask, right, how do you think about calculating risk when you have to ship your products overseas? What kind of like distributors do you look at? Or right down to even, would you even consider having your own shop, like your own retail space one day? Yeah.
So right now we have our own concept store in Singapore, 4 in total, and from day one. And my first store is in Ion, so we've been there since 12 years. Definitely right decision. In the sense of when, you know, as beauty, you need to register with the authority.
That's right.
So when Sephora CEO came to Ion store and said, I would love you in the 7 cities that, you know, we are growing in Asia, would you come on board? And then I was thinking, the basket size of Skin Inc. is luxurious, it's quite big compared to, you know, a transaction in Sephora. So, but then we sort of look at the whole assortment and sizing, and we tune and refine some of it so that you could calculate in a sense where you need to understand your customers so well, you know that you can meet them there. So skinning is about customization online. You discover your skin concern, you customize it. So there is a lot of reviews and online research going on. And the girl that walked into Sephora has a discovery mindset. They go in, it's like a candy empire, and then they get excited and they start buying. So we find that there is a meeting of the eye of our consumer together, and that's how I decided 7 cities, 7 trademarks, 7 regulatory is no fun at all. Right? And repackaging and stuff. So that was the year where we find that we make that right decision.
Oh wow. Okay.
And of course, being Sephora and with LVMH, subsequently we opened up with Nordstrom, the whole of America, as well as Dermstore, Bergdorf Goodman. So other e-tailers came into play because that was the gold standard on Sephora. So with that, you know, is it a big risk? It is, because you have to really the volume to just to supply to 7 cities in Sephora. You had to your production and everything has to become a much bigger scale. So working capital and cash flow is something that we are really new in distribution there. So I will urge everyone to definitely have a CFO friend that could advise you, because as a visionary and a dreamer, you just think, I love that opportunity, right? But you don't see the walls.
Understand. So I want to stay on this a little bit, right? So when you make that move to going into, for example, like Sephora, after how many years do you actually look at it and go, I've made the right decision?
That is like year 3, because year 1, year 2, you want to on the level of playing field with Sephora, you know, the sampling will be in the tens of thousands, and you don't know whether that is going to come back to convert to sales, right?
Correct.
And it's 7 cities, so it ballooned up to a few 100,000 outlay.
Wow.
And then you were like, okay, is this ever going to come back?
That's right.
But as long you have a good product to prove, when it lands in the hand of a consumer, you're confident with it, go for it.
Understand. So wow, it took about 3 years to be able to see that result. So what that means is that when a young person wants to kickstart something, I guess tenacity and perseverance is key. And would you say a little bit towards like having that gut feel and knowing that, you know, I think I've made the right decision, and then at the same time, because the CFO says, okay, I think we can calculate that risk, and you feel a little bit more comfortable. Do you think that matching of is very important, more than anything else in today's time? What do you think, Sabrina?
Beyond yourself as an entrepreneur and as a leader, your team needs to be ready. Because it takes a lot more than you could imagine in terms of, you know, the marketing speed, as well as Sephora is also online there, you know, where the team was very retail centric. How to use, you know, do different assortment and bundle on Sephora.com, and that is how you have to transform the team mindset together with you.
Understand. So going over to Marcus, you know, so Marcus, I'm a big fan of PRISM. Like my office, half of us use PRISM screens, as well as I have a lot of, I recently, or rather the company recently went into gaming as well. And so we have a lot of young Singaporeans or even like folks that actually, and gaming folks that actually built Aftershock, computers, right? I do know that Aftershock has a retail shop, but then Prism doesn't have. So I wanted to ask you, like, do you ever foresee that Aftershock will create more of these retail spaces? Will Prism ever have its own kind of like maybe experience shop? What do you think?
So we actually think that for our business, the retail shops are really important because it really depends on the product you're selling. So if you're selling a product where a customer might walk by and decide to make an impulse buy, then having a retail shop in a big mall might make sense. However, for our products, let's say a PC is 2 to 3 grand. People don't make those decisions on the spot. They consciously decide they want a PC and they start doing research, and then they finally decide to buy that PC or laptop. So it's a big purchase, and while some customers might be okay with buying it online, maybe because they saw the product in the hands of a friend or whatnot, most of the customers would like to see the product firsthand. They would like to talk to an expert because these are technical stuff. And if you are looking for someone to build your custom PC for you, you might have lots of questions about the hardware, the kind of hardware that's going to your machine, what you're going to use it for, what's the best for your budget. And that's where, a retail space is really, really useful. So one thing unique about us is we look for retail spaces at locations, less prime locations, because we can get a large space where we can make the interaction with the customer really, really personal.
Understand.
And that really works well for Aftershock. Prism-wise, we feel exactly the same thing. Prism has gone very much into televisions, and for televisions, a 65-inch TV or whatnot, a lot of the customers want to see it in person before they make that purchase. You'd be surprised, just how much of that traffic comes from people that will journey all the way down to the Aftershock showroom, for example. And Prism is definitely looking into having its own showroom. In a place like Singapore, where it's relatively easy to get everywhere, we think having one showroom is fine. Whereas for a place like Malaysia, a place like Australia, we think multiple showrooms.
Cities.
Because the showrooms can also double up as service centers.
That's right.
And for a product that requires a lot of after-sales service, having this double-up capability can improve the overall experience for the customer after they purchase the product. So definitely, having an online presence is great. Because you build an online presence, it's your website. It stays there forever. People remember the website, and it's like this online shop that people can browse 24/7. But I believe that at least in the future, having a retail presence to supplement that, allows you to really get the most potential out of your platforms.
So just throwing this question out, right? Do you think if we have somebody in the audience today who's like a young brand owner, maybe they created something during this COVID period and they're confident about that product, do you think that they should always dream about just winning online first, then after that going to physical retail? Or do you suppose that they could just straight away maybe go into physical retail? Like, what do you guys think? Maybe we start with Dione first.
Sure. I would say definitely do it online first, to build up first your database, right? And you can do it in a less costly approach first, just to understand your audience, right? You can do more surveys, and very importantly as well, before you go offline and maybe invest in more like, I think omni technologies, you just want to understand that customer, right? And a lot of times offline, or if you're working with a partner, you may not get the full data to fully understand that. Then I think to Marcus's point also, it really depends what category you're in as well, right? Like for us, same thing when it comes to clothing. End of the day, the best AI tool can sort of tell you how it's going to fit, right? Or how you would translate it. But more than that, it's more than that. When it comes to fashion, it's also how the fabric hugs you, right? Different fabric has different sort of tautness as well. And that's where it fits actually a bit differently. No matter even if it's an S, M, or L, right? It actually sits on you slightly differently. So that's for us, right? And why I guess offline retail actually makes sense. But maybe if it's a slightly different product, if it's lower price, for example, and maybe not a fashion category especially, possibly you may not need even an offline presence.
Got it.
My take on this is that it really depends also on your budget. Like if you are a startup with lots and lots of cash, you can just go everywhere at once. But most people are not in that position. They're limited by the amount of money you have when you start your business. So you need to allocate that money in the most effective way possible. If you ask me, online is usually the most cost effective. I believe that you want to build an online presence because that's what will last in the long run. It's always accessible around the clock from people anywhere. However, to me, I see retail as an arm to help to bolster that online presence. So you use it to further build your brand, further build the customer's opinion of your brand by having that retail presence. It's a supplementary thing. But as mentioned, I also think it depends on your product. What kind of product, how people, the nature of the people buying it, what's the thought process. You need to look at it in detail.
Understand.
Yeah.
I would say post-COVID, online is definitely the better way to approach your consumer. But having in mind the experiential memories they go together when they touch and feel your product. So in that sense, you could always couple a 360 strategy around online and offline. So the omni-channel, how do you have the online awareness and meet the consumer? I'm sure a lot of retailers or even more today is very open. If you have a very good creative idea, they give you a space so that you can create a different experience for the consumer. And then, but you have to be smart about capturing those data, engaging them, and bring them online to bring them down the consumer funnel. Right?
Understand.
So education, awareness, education, and the conversion.
That's right. Okay. So I think maybe now we touch a little bit about, I guess, marketing. So just now as I was thinking, right, like if I were a young brand owner, maybe my parents or my savings, $10,000, like what would, so for example, if I'm a fashion brand and I just started, I have some inventory, I have $10,000 of promos and marketing budget, like where would you suggest I put my money into? I hope you say influencer marketing, because that's that's my business. But then I want you to think about it from you know, your product category, and then Sabrina, your product category, which is exactly in beauty, wellness, and skincare as well. So maybe we start with Dione.
Sure. I think investing back into the community first.
Okay.
Right. Meaning again, right, I think even if it's surveys trying to understand that community base, and then just polling them through emails and so on. I think especially as a young brand, let's say, and you only have 100 customers for hypothetical situation, I think you really want to understand who are your first 100 customers, right, in terms of your first hype and most loyal consumers. And it actually quite cost efficient, right? Maybe I guess just dispatching an email in UK like MailChimp, right? Something like that, to understand and be like, hey, right, why did you pick us? Why did you pick us over other brands? What else do you like about it? Or do you have feedback as well about maybe what wasn't so good, right? And maybe then also leveraging your community, meaning maybe referral marketing, not yet influencers.
Okay.
So referral, right? To be like, hey, right,
okay.
if these are my 100 base loyal fans, can I get them to share the word also, right, to their 100 other friends?
Got it.
And maybe it's just a little gift voucher, a little exchange, or anything like that, right? Because the word of mouth and that power, it's so invaluable.
Okay.
And it's beyond what sometimes, right? I think when it comes to paid influencer engagement or, you know, even in Google advertising can actually do.
Yeah.
So I would say that first, if it's very, very limited funds, right? Then we
$10,000.
go down. Okay, then we go down to the rest, right? I think for influencer, again, it really depends. For us, I think so far it's been about also building the right relationships with influencers, because I think consumers today, and I think all of you listening also, consumers are really smart, right? You know when something is paid, right? Or you know when an influencer is just, you know, every single post showing a very different brand. That authenticity element may not be there as well, right? Where consumers just know. So for us, then it's really still investing in influencer, which definitely is important if they have a good and relevant base, but the right ones, right? And then working consistently with them. And they should be also the right influencers who ascribe also to our values as a brand. I think that's what we feel is very, very important. Then apart from that, I think for us, because we have quite a strong digital community, so a lot of people say like email's dead. For us, email is around like 30% plus. It contributes to 30 to 40% of our marketing revenues actually. So we still see a very, very good traction for email. But I think just really understanding your channels and then investing through that. But I would always say community first, right, and customer first in that sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I would completely agree on the community aspect, because even for the PC community, the PC enthusiast community, when we started off, no experience at all, that was very much our main focus. I mean, going back in time, obviously, I would have done things maybe a bit differently, but starting off with almost no budget, we did the same thing. We put ourselves on forums where the tech people discuss stuff, in communities, in gaming communities, and we went to events, sorts of semi-sponsored events, and worked with events on like actual gaming events for like tournaments and stuff for local players, where we could introduce the product to people. But I would say that this is a very good way of starting for products such as ours, because each of the people that buys your products, they become sort of an evangelist for your brand.
That's right.
They carry your product around, they tell people about your brand. If the experience is truly exceptional, they'll literally sell your products for you because they enjoyed the experience with you.
Yeah.
However, if you had a 10K budget, I mean, things have changed a lot since we have started. You know, there's a lot of platforms now where you can get decent returns from spending money, like digital advertising on all the various platforms, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, you know, TikTok, whichever the list goes on. But, you know, gaining a good understanding about how to use these platforms is so important. You can't just be going in there blind and just blanket spending your money. And even the quality of the content that you put out has to be, it affects the conversion. Everything affects. Like when somebody sees an ad for your company and they go to your website and they look at the products, everything affects it, not just the ad itself, but the experience on the website that will affect the percentage conversion rate, which you use as a mathematical function to calculate how effective your ad spend is.
That's right.
So there's really a huge amount of factors in this. So if you're really limited with a 10K budget, you have to plan carefully based on your product. You know, what's the first impression you want people to have of your new company? How do you want people to remember your brand? Are you going for, you know, we are a value brand, or are you going for we are a premium brand offering premium services? I mean, it's all about the identity. You need to decide on a lot of things first. But this is really a nuanced kind of like topic. So I really think that for us at least, if we were to go back in time, definitely we would have invested a lot more into the so-called scientific styles of advertising, meaning more of the Google ads and Facebook ads, all this kind of thing. Because when we started the business at that time, Facebook ads, Google ads, they were not massively used in the local market yet, meaning the cost, which is by bidding, was actually very, very low. So some of the people I knew that did it very early, it was insane. But right now it's expensive because everyone is doing it. So it's no longer the most effective way because everyone does it. It's just standard now. So people who look for not just the platforms to advertise on, but creative ways to execute the advertising are the ones who really do well. And for us, influencer wise, yes, we actually worked with several gaming related influencers and the experience was very good because, you know, at least for the gaming segment, influencers in Singapore, not many. So the ones who are thriving are really, really, really popular. So we're just somewhat lucky in the sense to have known them because I was an ex competitive gamer myself.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's a part of understanding the mindset of the community already. Sabrina, your thoughts?
Come more direct to the influencer sphere. We brought Dione Song to Singapore about 6 years back when influencer marketing is still just starting up, right? Everyone in Singapore was like, wow, how did you get her?
Yes.
But I think when you are very familiar with your product offering and who represent your brand, it started with, I saw one of her posts, she has eczema, just like me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to send her this product. Just really, I don't know her, just really cold and send it to her. And that's how we started with our global community. We heal her eczema.
Wow.
And the subsequent, we have an event where like, we'd like to fly you over for an event.
Yes.
You know, and she said yes. But it's, I mean, versus other big brand, I'm sure she's being approached. But for her to have that affinity with the brand, so even with the influencer, you need to be very authentic with them from ground zero, right? From day one. You can't just, because they are not big yet or whether they're big, then you approach them. It's just about the community. Same thing for all the different makeup artists in New York or even in Asia. Most of our makeup artists have one of the favorite product from skinning. And because we're so big into customization, everyone's skin is different. Every bottle is different. So it's like thousands of concoction they have.
Wow.
So in that sense, it comes through a very authentic way.
Yes.
When they share with their own fan base.
Understand.
But it's also coming back to performance marketing, which is what you said, more scientific. Is then how do you be more creative of piecing content together?
That's right.
That could be more in educating your consumer and use performance marketing to amplify that content.
That's right.
So in that sense, it's not you selling to your community, but you're sharing what the other reviews and testimonial has been.
Yes.
So that there's some form of amplification because guys, I think you do need to put some money in performance marketing because no matter how popular you are on Instagram or Facebook, you can't be Facebook.
Yes. That makes sense. So I think like it basically, like just from the last couple of questions that we asked, I think most importantly, you know, community, understanding your target audience, super important, understanding where they are, getting them to be kind of like the promoter of the brand, if they like the brand. Having, if you go into retail, it's really for experience. I think that's important. And then I think on the marketing front, it would be, if you have limited budget, is to really figure out like exactly like where you want to put your cash in performance, in a little bit of influencer seeding, as well as with the plus and all that. But whatever the case is, the product needs to be good, it needs to be authentic, and it needs to, I guess, solve a problem from that perspective as well, right?
And don't be a me too.
Okay.
You need to have a point of differentiation in your brand.
That's right. Oh yes,
That's
correct.
The advertising gets you through the door, but the product is what keeps you in the business. Yeah.
Correct. So like having a very strong USP, so the product must be good, and it's not like, oh, I just want to be a replica of so and so. I just want to be then it won't work, and it wouldn't be something that I guess as entrepreneurs or C-level stuff as we are, it's not exciting for us to wake up in the morning. And I guess exactly like what you say, be a me too from that perspective. Okay. So I just want to ask, in the next 5 years, so imagine if we're in 2025, where do you think, I guess two questions is, where do you think you will be in 2025? Like, what do you think life will look like in 2025? Where do you think the company will be in 2025? Like, where are the hopes and aspirations? We start with Dione.
Sure.
Okay.
Think for LB, our 10-year vision, right, really to become a women's lifestyle empire.
Okay.
Just not just in fashion or clothing, right? Really beyond that, right? Can we be that one-stop platform, right, that truly understands the female consumer, the female psyche, also from a data standpoint, right? So beyond, I guess, if you think of verticals like fashion, right, clothing, beyond that, right, beauty, health and wellness, and so on. And I think that's why also, right, I think we've built the LB Community Plus, our loyalty program, right, because really end of the day also, can we sort of really understand consumers and upsell, right, and then upsell them across all the different spheres, right, and preempt their needs as well. So that's really the vision across any category, really depending on what the community wants. Yeah.
Understand.
Yeah.
So for Aftershock, I mean, we founded this company, just with the goal of moving the way people bought custom PCs very much from the sort of the DIY, not just DIYing their own PCs, but also looking at the boutique builder. So I think we have achieved that to some extent. In the Singapore market, when we first came in, the boutique builders almost didn't exist. Today, it's actually a very popular form of a way for people to build their PC. But in 5 years, what we want is we want to be all over Southeast Asia. We are already in Australia and Malaysia. We're looking into more countries soon. We want to be the de facto brand that people go to when they want to build a custom PC or performance PC. And at this point of time, we're no longer just PCs for gamers. Yes, we primarily built PCs for gamers at the beginning, but today we serve thousands of creators, professionals, engineers, even deep learning machines. We just want to be the place when people think of building a PC, they think about us. That's what we're hoping for. From a personal standpoint, I've done several businesses now, Aftershock, PRISM, Omnidesk. I'm hoping to go into more, and I'm hoping to very much focus on building my team members up, building other people up, so that I can focus on the vision and sort of going into a wider range of things instead of always focusing on operations. And we've been investing a lot in the individual members of the team.
Okay.
And to me, it's just amazing. Like, it's something that has changed for me over the years. When I started off the company, I tried to do a lot of things myself, mainly because I was afraid it wouldn't go exactly the way I wanted if I didn't do it myself. But what I learned that while other people may not do it exactly the way I want, the first time I get them to do it, that's a learning experience for them each time they do it. And eventually they might even do it better than I would have expected to do something myself. And that's an overall direction I want for our companies.
Understand. Yeah, that's a good one. We have a saying at Gushcloud, which is, we only grow if we let go. If you don't let go, you won't grow.
So
So it's like everything's just holding you down and like bogging you down, right? So that you can't grow. Yeah. So that's what one thing we keep saying. We have to let go so that we can grow. So that help me, help you, help me. Back, Sabrina, your thoughts.
On that, I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when you want to start a business, everybody are you insane? So I always like that. Insanity is good. But insanity needs to have a purpose. So insanity with the purpose and with a radical leap of faith, that company forms or that brand forms, right? So with that, especially with COVID, it is a time for us to reboot our mindset. You know, reboot in a computer world, because I came from tech for 11 years, means control, alternate, delete. Constantly unlearn what you have learned, also constantly learn faster from across different lifestyle industry. So like what Dione has rightfully put, a brand shouldn't just look at just being that domain provider.
Yes.
It's where your consumer is looking at and the lifestyle space. Whereas for us, if you look beyond beauty, beauty is not skincare. It's actually a mental wellness.
That's right.
Well-being. So whenever a girl or guy put on the cream at night or that custom serum at night, there's something beyond that skin surface they're looking for.
Yeah.
And in fact, you have seen the whole beauty sphere going into the mental wellness, because during COVID, our sales just saw through the roof because it's about self-care and self-love. So with that, where skinny is going to look like and how we're going to look like in 5 years' time is likely, into the mental wellness space, as well as combining AI and data and tech. And that's where I'm excited about. Yeah, but we're going to launch something work first in March.
Very
so
exciting. Yes. So I think maybe we end off with the last question, which is what would that one piece of advice that you would give to like maybe a young entrepreneur or somebody that's young that wants to start out something on his own, or maybe has already started out today? Like, what would that one piece of advice you would like to give to them? Well, maybe we start with Sabrina first. Yeah.
So when you look at a lot of peers of the same industry or externally, like, how can this person be more successful than me? And don't let others define success for yourself.
100%. Yes.
Because you feel very miserable.
Yes.
Right? It is about significance. And listen to me, because I'm in my mid-40s. I feel that success versus significance is very important. Always remember your purpose, why do you start?
Yes.
And where do you come from?
Yes.
And as long as you're true to that purpose, you're really successful.
That's true. Wow, very good. Wow. My mother used to, a couple of years ago, my mom asked me, told me this, and she also said the exact same thing. She said, you should never let other people define success for you. And because the definition of success for each person should be different and has to be different. And so then I asked her, what is success for you? And she said, success for me is literally just to be able to have a home and have kids. And she says, and I'm happy because I'm successful and I'm ready to go. And she said, I'm ready to go back to heaven if that happens, because I feel like my life has been successful. And I thought to myself, and I was like, wow, how do we help young people to understand that? Because if they can understand that, then they will stop comparing. And there is no fundamental joy in comparing, right? Because the grass will always be greener on the other side. Somebody else will always do better than you. But I think there is a difference between being comparative and competing. And I think there's a key difference to that. So I want to say I truly agree with you. And I'm very grateful for you for bringing this up today. Yeah, Marcus, yours.
I mean, for me, my advice would be don't be afraid to fail. You have to fail in order to improve. And I mean, a funny analogy for this would be for gaming. Like as a competitive gamer before, a lot of the best players are people that are willing to just grind and just ladder and lose those games, ruin their ratings, so that they see in the long term they become better by learning from their mistakes. It's the same with business. Everything you try, you fail, you realize, oh, this doesn't work, but you actually move as a person after each failure. But too many people are concerned with how their record looks like to others, so you're afraid to fail because you don't want others to see you fail, feel embarrassed about it. So you should view it differently. I think people should view failure as it gives you the experience to do better next time. And that, along with for your ideas, it's very important to get people to discuss your ideas with you, how good your ideas are. So if you have a business idea, everybody wants to start a business, but like you mentioned earlier, and so there's a lot of people who want to do Me Too businesses. So people want to do a cafe or whatever, something generic. But I feel like in today's competitive environment, you need to have an edge. When you do a business, you need to have something that will put you ahead, that will make you stand out. And when you're evaluating your idea for your startup, you really need to get opinions, so you can truly evaluate, from multiple perspectives just how effective your business will be, how good the idea is. Even if you don't take the opinions, you should at least hear it, list it out. It's just more data for your database that you can work with. So that's just the main thing. I've spoken to a lot of people who want to start businesses. Very often they may or may not have ideas I agree or disagree with. So I'll normally just share to the best of my ability what I think. But some people don't even like hearing it. I notice a lot of people, when they have a new business idea, they want to do it. They don't even like to hear another opinion. You don't have to do anything a bit. You just listen to it and you think about it, whether it's useful to you or not. But at least you should go through that process.
Yeah. Staying humble, very important. Being open to like constructive criticisms, right? I think that's very important too.
I think Sabrina and Marcus have mentioned it all. But I think two words as well. I think came to mind. One, really ikigai, which was really something I personally lived with, right? Lived by the at least always the last sort of like 5 to 8 years. I think now it's very trending, this word. But ikigai, really that purpose, right, of living and the reason why you wake up every morning. Right? Exactly what you said, right? Ikigai, I guess, came from this Japanese term where people in Okinawa, right, despite being very, very simple, they are the happiest people, right, around the world, because they understand their purpose, even if it's fishing, right, and catching something for a family and providing for that. And for everyone to just know that purpose, right? Because I think, again, today, I think a lot of youth, especially, or even people our age, right, I think you get so caught up in the whole cycle and you don't really understand that true motivation and purpose, which then makes it hard to get fulfillment. And then the second word, which we always tell my team, right, ideas, I think, good ideas, I think, takes time, but also ideas can be cheap, right? End of the day, it's about operational excellence. At the end of the day, it's about, do you have that dogged determination to get through with it, right? And there will be ups and downs. Can you get through the downs, right? So this word, sisu, which I really love, it's a Finnish word. So it's really just something like, dogged determination and grit, right? Do you have that to get through the times? And I think COVID was the big testament to that, right? Where you have to make difficult decisions as a founder, right? Or in management, you have to cut costs, right? Maybe, I guess, you have to reevaluate your teams as well. And do you have that as well, right? To get through the period, because, and it's about the adventure, the journey, right? Because you can sort of do it and get down after, which then it's not great because you are the captain of the ship, right? You need to be feeling positive, right? And still happy at the end of it. And then be that face, right? To still talk to your team, right? And motivate everyone through. So really having that sisu to get past all the different moments.
Cool. So I think we've come to the end of the conversation. I just want to say a very big thank you to the three of you. I personally learned a lot. And not only that, I think like coming to the end of the year, it also helps me remember all these small little nuggets of, I guess, advice that, we've all have shared today. So for those of you who are watching here, I hope that you enjoyed this session. I hope that you've learned. And so I just want to say thanks. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, bye. Thank you.